What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm going to break down all of my trades from the morning. Today, I traded 4 stocks, and I only had one loser. And the loser, I'm down $320.21. All right, not bad. That is pretty good risk management. Now, I guess in truth, I traded that stock twice. On the first trade, I was up 400, and then I lost 700 on the second trade. So today, I probably had about 10 trades individually and only one loser. So 90% accuracy. I'm up $25,000. Average winners were certainly bigger than my average losers. So life is good. I'm kind of back in the saddle, making some progress. This recoups more than half of my loss from Friday, but I am still red on the month of August. So I've still got a little ways to go just to get back to flat before I start actually putting a dent in my monthly goal, which really is $1 million. I mean, that's what I've been averaging per month. So we just need to get some good momentum though, because the thing is, if we keep seeing this sort of slower action, then this is not, $1 million is not going to happen. It's just out of reach. It's important to set goals. It's important to be, aspirational and be a sort of, push yourself and trade at the edge of your comfort zone. But on the other hand, well, you've got to stay grounded and ask yourself, what's the condition of the market? If the market's a little colder, then those goals might not happen no matter what you do. And so it's better not to push it too hard because you'll get yourself frustrated, you'll get stubborn, you'll have unnecessary losses. And so in that way, goals can actually be counterproductive. Okay, so let's start high level with a look at the overall market. S&P 500, big picture, we gapped up a little bit this morning, which is good, and the overall market is rallying. Okay, so market's rallying back up. Overall, the volume is still very light compared to the high volume selling from Friday, but this is certainly better than the alternative, which would be going down, and going sideways would be okay, except even now there's still risk of this being a bear flag for another step lower. And to be honest, there wouldn't be anything really that unusual with a bit of a more sustained pullback, given how strong the market has been and the fact that it has room to pull back and it's not going to go into a bear market. But I suppose if we look at this, we're kind of near an ascending support level here that we're holding. So we'll see if it can hold that level, and then that would certainly be good. All right, so when I sat down this morning, big picture, S&P 500 gapping up. That's good to see. Then I'm looking at the scans, and I noticed one of the leading gappers at the time early this morning was COMM. 200 million share float stock, $13 a share. Ended up being halted for a while this morning on news. Did not trade it, float simply too high. So that one was off the list. And then PBM, which I talked about in the recap or the game plan watch list yesterday. This one was on the scans this morning, and I said, no, I'm not getting baited into trading this. I lost on it last week. I'm not going to lose on it again today, so no trades on this one. It's another high volume red day, as you can see right here. It's just been stair-stepping down. Yes, it popped up a little bit, and it probably caught some traders who maybe didn't have the same kind of look back that I had, which was to say, well, wait a second. This popped up the other day and it didn't do anything. Why would today be any different? So no trades on PBM, which left me at the top of the hour feeling a little bit like, all right, well, what am I going to trade? Which did bum me out a bit because I was hoping that I would sit down at 7 a.m. and we'd already have some really solid momentum, but we really did not. So my first trade was HCTI. HCTI hits the scans, hits the high day momentum scanner, boom, I pull it up, and immediately I see it's a recent reverse split. So recent reverse split, been trading, kind of pulling back here, lighter volume. Now all of a sudden, looking for that pop, squeezing back up. So I jumped in this right here with an average of just under $6 a share. It went all the way to a high of $7.49. So that's a pretty nice pop from $6 up to $7.50. Can't complain about that. The only thing you can complain about is that it's a topping tail and it didn't hold. But I paid myself. Unlike some of the trades last week where I held the whole position or I doubled, today I got in and I got out. So I took my profit off the table. It sells off and I did a dip trade. I bought the dip down here. It rallied back up to 6, which was decent. And then after that, I was done with it. So I ended up locking up $21,142.47 in those first 5 minutes right there, or 10 minutes of the trading day. And I was like, all right, that's pretty good. that's a good cushion on the day. Let's see what's next. So then I'm sitting kind of patiently waiting to see what's going to come up next. And the next stock that I ended up trading was ARTL. And I was cautious about this because I said, listen, ARTL popped up the other day, sold off. I really don't know that we can trust it, but it popped up here this morning. And on this pop, there was a news headline behind it. $9.475 million private placement to initiate a treasury strategy. So again, a crypto catalyst. I just thought, well, let's see what it does. So I didn't buy it when it first started spiking right up here, but my first entry was it popped up, it dipped down just for a moment, and I bought the bottom of this bottoming tail candle, and I got a quick little scalp from about $15 up to $16 with a 3,000 share position. So I ended up making about $2,300 average on that. Green is good, nothing crazy. And I was like, okay, well, that didn't really work and it didn't really pull away. And then the next stock was VERB, VERB, which was already up quite a bit on no news. And then boom, news comes out, Bitcoin treasury strategy or cryptocurrency treasury strategy, and it squeezes from 14 to 22. I just traded the middle of that move with smaller size and made another $2,500. But I was just like, this is another example where the news was leaked. People already knew the news was coming and kind of jumped in ahead of it. And then the news comes out and it pops, but then they're all taking profit and it sells off. Sort of predictable that happened. So only got a small profit on that. And then BTBD was the last one I traded. And although this made a big move, I didn't trade it pre-market here. There was a daily level at about 305 right here. And I said, well, it's got to get kind of over that level. And then we've got room up to here. So that's what I was thinking about. And we ended up blue sky being up around 525. We actually broke that level. But then, of course, we pulled back here. So I finally broke the ice on it, dip and rip after this halt. Only made $300, $400 on that. It pulls back, comes back up, dips down, comes back up. And I got back in right about here at 525. It dips back down, pops back up, and I got out for a $700 loss. Then it goes to 550 without me, and I was like, well, whatever. And that ended up being the high of day right there, and now we're stair-stepping back down. So, at this point, I'm just going to try to lock up the green day. I got to be a little on the defense right now. Just get in, get green, get out, book a couple more green days like this. And, look, when I was up 21,000, I was totally prepared to get aggressive if something started to pull away. But then nothing pulled away. We kept seeing pops and just sort of, very subtle moves. So BTBD by far has been our biggest move of the day, up 160%. It just ended up happening a little bit later in the morning. The volume is quite high. It was a little bit choppier. It didn't give really quite the setups that I was looking for. And so I didn't really do super well on it. But nonetheless, this is good to see. And this is a blue sky setup on the daily. It's at basically all-time. It broke all-time highs today. So that is bullish. You might get more action on it later today, but I'm going to take the money off the table and then try to do it again tomorrow, get another $25,000, $30,000, right? And then that recovers me back to flat on the month. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, start to get myself back towards, the weekly goal, which is realistically $250,000 a week, $50,000 a day. Now, setting the goal at $50,000 a day is obviously very aggressive. However, I have been averaging $34,000 a day this whole year so far. So my daily goal right now is $20,000. That's a hot market daily goal. I could set it to $34,000, which has been my goal for the year, or my average for the year. I could set it at $50,000, and that is my goal for the month, to be at $1 million. But like I said about goals, I don't want to set the bar too high. If the market's hot, it's going to happen. And if it's not hot, it's not going to happen no matter how hard I try. So it's better just to set the goal a little bit lower. And a day like today that I'm up 25, be grateful for that instead of think, I'm still $15,000 away from my goal. I have to keep trading. That's not really a good idea. If it's not happening, it's not happening. So I'm an advocate of setting the goals, at least on a daily level, a little bit lower. And then, I don't stop when I hit the goal. I just keep trading. So, I just sort of set, as long as I'm up more than, $15,000, $20,000, those are good days. And I don't want to lose sight of that. I want to be grateful for those gains. So lock those days up. And then look, on a day when things are really starting to move and we're getting some incredible action, next thing you know, I'll be up 75, 100 or 150, 200,000 on the day. And it just happens so quickly. It's like, wow, that's amazing. So those days make up for these slower days. But what I think is important is to have small green days and then, periodically a couple big red days. Big green days. What you want to avoid is having those big red days, because those big red days, emotionally, it's hard. You have to recover from it emotionally, financially. So how do you avoid having those big red days? It really comes back to each day building a cushion of profit before you get aggressive. So if you don't have that cushion of profit, you have no business taking big share size. And those were mistakes that I made last week, specifically on Friday. And, in a hot market, you're going to get a little more complacent. You're going to get a little more aggressive on those first couple trades, and it'll probably work until it doesn't. And so it caught up with me. I finally got smoked, and that was on Friday. And so now I'm kind of focusing back on build your cushion, get in, get green before sizing up. Now, today I got in, got green, got my cushion, and then there was nothing that looked good enough and felt right for me to size up on. So it didn't happen. All right, it is what it is. I'll try again tomorrow. So that's where I'm at. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. If you haven't already checked out the 2-week trial, link will be pinned to the top comment and posted in the description. That 2-week trial is $20. You get to watch over my shoulder during the trial. You get to use this software, Day Trade Dash, for charting, scanning, breaking news. And you get to really immerse yourself in a community of active traders. So I think you guys will enjoy it. Check it out. But reminder as always, trading is risky. Easy come, easy go. My results aren't typical, so please take it slow and practice in a simulator before putting real money on the line.